Good morning again. This is Rabbi Shalom, the first day of Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, located in Yerushalyim, HaKodesh. This is our Shir Gemora. I am temporarily substituting for Rabbi Ruben Rebbe, who's taking care of some important business in Yeshiva. We hope he has to have success, and he'll be able to return to his Shir here in Bava Kamma, Daf Yom Ches on the base. Bava Kamma? Okay. Where should we begin?
Nafal labor behiv ish. Let's see, it is
That's about 5 lines now from the top.
yeah, I think so. Nafal, yeah, first is Nafal labor.
In the middle of the
First word in line is patur.
Great, very good.
Shall I read?
Yeah, if you like, unless Rory wants to leave.
No, I'm fine. I'm happy to listen.
Nafal labor behiv ish may mar chayiv.
Right.
Fell into the cistern and fouled the waters. Is chayiv. So we have a situation where the trespasser's ox fell into the cistern,
Okay.
ruined the water. Marava, said Rava, lo shavu ella shehiv ish bishas nefilah. They only taught this in the case where the fouling of the water happened at the time of the falling into the cistern. In other words, immediately.
So simultaneous, as the animal was falling, right? So it was ruining the water.
Aval achar nefila, but if the ruining of the water happened after the falling, patur, the owner of the ox is exempt from the damage to the water.
Okay.
My time, why? Have shore bore, because a shore is classified as a bore in this case. In other words, if the shore is falling in, then it's a shore. But if it's in there already and just laying in there, then it's considered to be a bore, considered to be a pit, like a pit. Umayim kalim, and the water is considered to be like utensils.
Okay, right.
Below matzinu bor shechiyev bo es akelim, and we do not find that a bore is obligated when it damages utensils.
So let's go with it again, okay?
Okay,
So
so
you have 3 elements here. You have the shore, right? You have the water, and you have the mess that the shore is doing to the water, correct?
right.
So let's try and get a picture of how the water is facing this question.
Not before elements, if you
Before?
count the folding of the rock.
Falling. Gravity. Well, what can we say about gravity?
Right.
It's a very serious matter.
Not because if the ox didn't fall in, if the ox just wandered in, for example, one thing.
Possibly, yeah, it could be.
But the ox fell in, in other words, the ox fell in, or
So you want to say, I think what you want to say is that there might be some kind of aspect of liability on the part of the owner of the boar. In other words, the ox fell into the boar, meaning maybe that's due to the fact that the owner was negligent and didn't surround it or cover it or protect it or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
No, just that the ox simply fell into the boar and falling in. Because it's got here at the moment of falling in, so that seems to be a consideration.
We can see how we take.
There's feedback.
Let's look at let's say this guy's got a swimming pool. Maybe he's got himself an elliptic swimming pool in the back of it. He's got a couple of tennis courts. He's got a little bit swimming pool in the back there. And this shore comes wandering into his from the ranch next door comes wandering into his backyard.
Yeah.
And the shore innocently walks right off the ledge into the swimming pool. Right? And he was playing a big party that night.
Right.
And now the water is all stinky from his ox. So how do we evaluate the situation?
If the water became stinky right away, then the owner of the ox has to pay to clean up the swimming pool. But if the water didn't become stinky right away, it only became stinky after some time because the ox was swimming around.
The flesh is flying away.
Just sitting there, right? And maybe dropping down some glowing
Whatever cows do, right?
into the water. Then the ox is considered to be like a pit, and the water is considered to be like utensils. And we have a rule: bor velo ish, chamor velo kelim.
Shor velo adam.
Shor velo adam.
Chamor velo kelim.
Chamor velo kelim. So chamor tells us that if you have a pit and there's damage to kelim, it's not. There's no responsibility.
No payment that has to be made, right?
Are we saying that the ox is considered to be a boar and the water is considered to be a utensil only in the case where the moment of falling in, only in a case where the ox fouls up the water after falling in?
Not exactly. The water is always considered to be kelim.
Okay, and the
It's
ox?
just the changes with the ox. The ox is considered to be an ox when it's immediate, and a boar when it's not immediate.
So the ox when
The ox when it's immediate, there's three kinds of damages. There's the ox, there's the eating, and there's the pit. So the ox is considered to be the first kind when it's immediate. That is, it's considered to be direct, the ox. But if there's time goes by, then the ox is considered to be like a pit.
It's this transformation from the shore to being a boar. Okay?
Right.
So it's somewhat similar to the case you probably had was if the person was walking his camel in the Yerushalyim,
Right.
and the camel fell down and was sprawled out in the Yerushalyim, and then another animal comes and trips over it.
Right.
Remember such a case? That was earlier on. So remember how that case was evaluated? What was the status of the camel?
Almost a boar.
Camel was a boar.
He didn't pick it up.
Didn't pick it up because he had to pick it up, and he didn't pick it up, so it's considered a boar. Right? So likewise, if another animal falls upon that camel, which is similar to boar, so if a chamor falls on that animal and is damaged, so you have to pay for the chamor. But if the chamor was carrying, say, a couple of chests of china, fell onto that camel, and the china broke, so that's kelim. So you wouldn't have to pay for kelim.
Right.
So that's the case of the camel on the highway. So now you have the ox in the swimming pool, right?
Right.
So this swimming pool has become polluted. It's now a polluted swimming pool, right? The EPA has to get to work on it, right? And clean it up. The question is who's gonna pay for the cleanup? So that all depends how you look at the shore and how you look at the water of the swimming pool. So if you look at the animal, the shore as a shore, so the water of the swimming pool is considered to be like what?
The water's always clean, that's not changing.
Okay.
The water's clean both times, just that the ox stays is changing from shore to bore. And when it's ashore, it's high, and once it changes from stays to the bore, then it becomes bucket.
Okay, but shore,
If the
so shore is, there wasn't a Nagicha over here, there wasn't a Gorin over here.
then there'd be no point to the
It's just the same laws of going. If the shore is walking
If the
along
shore-
and it steps on your clay pots and smashes them,
Well, that's that'll be regal.
Right, the shore.
Regal is another category?
Yeah, regal's another category.
Oh, I
See,
didn't know
shore has to have kavanah lahazik. Shore has to have the intention to damage. That's the classic essence of shore. Nagicha, when it gores, the shore uses its horns in order to attack or to defend itself, but it has kavanah
No, but what?
to damage.
No, there's something saying here that the sullying the water that he's putter, it's saying only on the time after Shas Nefila that he's putter, which would mean that the Shas Nefila is chayiv.
Okay.
It's the Gemora is saying he's chayiv at Shas
Right,
Nefila.
but the question is
Yeah.
why?
So
Of course, we can see why he's putter at the end. Why he's chayiv?
Why
What's
is
his
he chayiv?
category?
Because it's actually regular, it's not shore.
What is shore? What is the shore did it? We're not saying how
But
the
he
shore
didn't
did it.
do it intentionally.
So,
He fell
why would-
into the
why would he, so
water
why
by
is he
accident.
chayiv? It's saying
So
he's
I'd say
chayiv.
it's regular.
that's the whole question. Why is it chayiv? I would say maybe it's age. It's like the case of a person left his knife on top of the roof, and the wind came and blew the knife down from the roof, and it went and did damage on its descent. That's age. That's the machlokas on the shore.
But isn't it saying that no, the shore, at the time of doing, the shore caused it? The action of the shore caused it.
Right. Okay.
That's what caused it. If Shas Nefila means the shore's action of falling in the water caused the water to get sullied.
Okay.
Okay. So therefore, it's saying here, because it said Lo Shel Ella, the only time he's pata is after the chiyuv. So it's saying that Shas Nefila, he's chayiv.
Okay.
So there's definitely a reason to say that Shore's action caused it. So why shouldn't Shore's action be considered up in par with Karen?
So he's a Tom. He's going to pay Chezi Nezek.
It doesn't say how much is chayiv.
He's a Tom, right?
Right.
So that's only Chezi Nezek. But
It's still chayiv, it's nothing.
Very good.
Not the nothing.
No problem. But you understand, if you're going to call it Shore,
Right.
this guy's a Tom, right? If he's a Tom, he's going to pay Chezi Nezek, right?
And what if you call it regal?
Regal, that regal, the Rishus Nizik, that's going to pay full damages.
So there's a difference.
There's going to be a difference.
So I'm going to say it's regal.
Okay.
Why? Because the shore's walking along and he falls in. Didn't have intention to fall in, so you can't say it's like goring. But you can say it's like he's walking along and he steps on the pots.
You could say that. Right? The Gemora doesn't seem to say that, but you could say that.
Why do you say it? The Gemora doesn't seem to be saying that.
Because it's calling it Shore. I think. Let's see. What's the Naful? Again, it says here Naful labor the Ibish Meimag Chayo.
Naful. What are you reading?
That says the fifth part. Naful labor fell to the pit, fell into the swimming pool. The Ibish Meimag included the waters. Chai, he's obligated to pay. Didn't say that's true. Didn't say how much he's obligated to pay. Right? Amar Rabba. Rabba says, Lo Shana, we didn't learn this Mishnah. El Shehivish B'Shas Nefila. Only that it became polluted at the time of the descent. Avala Aka Nefila, after it descended. Right? But my time. What's the reason? Shor bor umayim kelim. Ulo matzinu bor shechayev bo ela hesed kelim.
Right, so clearly, if it's afterwards, the shore is a bore.
Okay.
But what if it's not afterwards?
Right.
You're saying you think it's shore, but I'm saying, maybe it's rego. It doesn't say here really. It just says he fell.
It just says he's chayev. Correct.
Right. It says v'nafla.
Right.
V'nafla. Aval la'acher nafla. So it's happened when he fell. That's all it says.
Rashi says a few words here. You see in the short lines, it's 2, 4, I think 5 lines into the short lines. Yehivish b'shas nefila. It polluted the waters at the time of its descent.
Right.
Rashi says
mazik.
the havi.
Dahavi mazik, that it is damage, mamash, actual damage, below demei labor, and it's not like a pit. It's actual damage.
Right.
But that could be either shore or regular.
Yeah, it could be. I'm willing to be non-committal at this point, right? It says Rashi, he's being maybe purposely non-committal, right? He says the havi mazik mamish. It's a destructive force in actuality, right? The low dummy labor. It's not similar to bor, because bor is passive, right? One of the classical characteristics of bor is it's passive. So they has to fall into the bor.
And mazik is the form of the word that means
It's
active.
a coil. It's an active form, right?
An active damage. Right. Ooh, the footnote says it's short. Footnote is on the phrase shehiv ish bishas nefila, at the moment of falling. Footnote says, for example, the ox was dirty and contaminated the waters as it fell in see Rashba. In this case, it did the damage actively and is thus in the category of shore, which is liable for damage to inanimate objects, including water. See Rashi. What does Rashi say then?
Rashi said that. Chazik mamish. He said it. Actual damage. Sure did it.
But he didn't say it was shore. He said it's actual active damage, but he never said it was shore.
What did you mean when you said the shore is passive? Oh no, sorry. No, that was the bor was passive.
Bor is passive.
Bor is passive. So, bor is passive. So,
The shore went into the water. The shore did something. It didn't just happen upon itself. The shore did something. Had some sort of stake. It was causing the water to get fouled up.
right. If the shore was clean,
Then the water would be dirty. We would have a problem there, wouldn't we?
you think you wouldn't want to drink the water swimming.
That's a different story.
But if
Well, after the neighbors go for a swim, also you want to drink the water either.
Especially if they have children.
Especially if the suntan lotion on them.
I wasn't thinking of something else.
Is it a short? Whether it did the damage actively or when the shore fell into the water,
Yeah.
it was a shore. But it matters whether it was whether it contaminated the water immediately or later on.
Yes.
Whether it stays ashore as it hits the water, as it's in the water. It must be as it's in the water, because it can't do anything if it's just is a millimetre above the water. It has to be in the water to do something.
Okay. Right.
So at the time it's submerged, or partly submerged, it's either ashore or aboard.
No, let's go back to a swimming pool problem, right? The shore is diving into the swimming pool.
Without wanting to.
No, it doesn't. Let's say he wants to, because as a mamish. He wants to dive into the swimming pool.
Right.
So the shore is wants to dive into the
That could make a difference. That could make a big difference, because then it could be goring. It could be the law of goring.
Well, it would. Well, that's legal. It's going to be the. But the thing is, while the shore is diving into this pool,
While it is diving.
while the shore is diving,
In other words,
as
in the
it's
air.
as it's diving, that's the action. That's the shas nefila. While it's diving,
Yeah.
that's the shas nefila. When it's considered shore, and he'd be responsible for dirtying up the water. Once the shore has hit the bottom already, any damage now that it's done after the falling is completed is now would be considered achar nefila, and that would be considered a bore piece of shore. That's how we change the category from shore to bore. He's no longer doing it. The shore is no longer acting anymore. The shore is now resting on the bottom. So now it's a passive situation, and it's a bore, and that bore would not be responsible to Kaylee for dirtying the water at that time. Now, how do you determine, when it happened before or after? That's a different story. As you say, the in-between time is before.
See that the expression that the Mishnah uses, for me, is a little bit is creating a little problematic for Rashi here. The Lashon nafal is Lashon passive. It didn't say kafetz. It didn't say jumped into the bore. Nafal. That was a passive thing that the shore was doing. And Rashi saying that was a mazik mamish. So how is Rashi turning the passivity of the expression that the Mishnah uses into an active, damaging force?
Well, that's what you're getting into the concept about mikveh is necessary or not for sure.
Well,
is mikveh necessary? Is mikveh necessary for sure or not?
Yeah, well, even without the kavana, but the simple act, the way the Mishnah is describing it, it seemed like it was. For example, we're going to have. I'm not sure if we had it before. We're going to have another case in the Gemora that you have one shore pushes another shore into the bore. Right. So here, the shore is simply just falling into the pit.
Yeah. But how is that different than the guy with the cod or the guy with the one guy with the beam and one guy with the cot? How is that any different from that?
True, it may not be very much. It may not be too far from that. Maybe very.
Who told you? It's the rear-ending story. Who told you to push me into the bore?
Yeah.
I didn't do it. This guy's action did it, and then I'm a secondary. I'm a grama situation, so you can't bother me because it's a grama. I didn't cause it. The other guy caused it.
Right. Okay. Maybe let's see the Gemora. Let's see how the Gemora develops this. Okay. But up until now, it's a little bit. It's more or less understood.
Yeah.
Good.
Hanicha lishmua. This is acceptable according to Shmuel. Damar kol kala bor hu. He says any obstacle is considered to be a bor. Ella, but the Rav, according to Rav, the Amar ad de mafkar lay. Rav says until that he makes it ownerless. Okay, so in other words, Shmuel says an obstacle is a bore. Period. But Rav says an obstacle is not a bore unless it's ownerless. My ika lemema. So what can you say? How can you say, if you're going to look at Rav's opinion, how can you say that the shore is a bore after it's been sitting in there when the owner of the shore has not made it ownerless? Right?
Right. If you want to call it a bore, right? So that's going to be good to Shmuel. Right? You can still call it a bore, even though it's not onerous, because that's not a factor to Shmuel, right? Getting to color, any type of a hazard. Any hazard is a bore. Whether it's ownerless or it's not ownerless, that's not the essential point according to Shmuel. In fact, it's a hazard. A hazard is a bore, not dependent upon ownership. It's not going to be considered a bore until it becomes ownerless. And the shore is still quite well owned. So what are you going to, what can Rav do to explain? Rav has to explain the Mishnah. It's the Mishnah. He's got to explain the Mishnah.
Right. So how can we understand the Mishnah according to Rav's view? Ella, but rather, itmar, hachi, itmar. Rather, if it was stated, this is how it was stated. So in other words, now we're going to try and change a little bit what it said. Amar Rava, said Rava, Lo Shanu Ella, it only teaches Shekiv Ish Mi Gufo. It is only teaching this in the case where the water was found by the body. Ella Shehiv Ish, that was found Migufo, from his body. Aval Hiv Ish Me Rehu, but it was found by his smell. Patur, the owner of the ox is exempt if it was found by the smell rather than the body. So what they're saying is, I guess, that smell is passive.
We'll see Rashi's how he explains this. Hold on a moment.
But let's just read the my Tama.
Yeah, we'll finish up to the 2 dots.
My Tama, what's the reason? Kamma, in indirect, me alma ku. Really, it's indirect. I guess if the smell is indirect. Grama, ba'alma lo mechayev. And indirect damage does not result in liability.
Okay, very good. Any questions on the basic Gemora?
So it's saying that the body is not grama, the body is correct, but the smell is indirect.
Indirect. Okay.
So now how does this help with Rava? Because now we're not getting into a question of bore at all. We've gotten away from the consideration of bore, so we don't have a problem with Rava's
requirement that bore requires to be ownerless.
Rav is saying it doesn't even have to be ownerless. I got another reason why it's patta. It's patta because it's indirect, not because it's a bore.
It has nothing to do with
nothing to do with bore at all.
Nothing to do with bore.
Nothing with bore. It has to do with being an indirect cause.
So he's saying when the Gemora says that it happened afterwards, it's referring to the smell.
If it's referring to the smell, right?
According to Rav.
Right, that's an indirect damage.
Indirect
damage, regardless if it's bore or not, indirect damage is going to be because that's only a gram.
But wait a second, didn't the original one say that it was because of bore?
I mean, the Gemara only said patta, then Shmuel had thought it was going to be a bore. They said it would be a bore, and they said that only works, no, that concept of bore only works for Shmuel, it doesn't work for Rava.
Well,
because Rava hasn't got an answer if you don't mafkir it.
Well, no, it says specifically, my taima, have shore, bore.
This
Right,
is,
and
this is
keep it-
Talmud of
then
Rava.
keep it
This
the
is Rava's stuff. I'm a Rava. No shana ela
Right.
hivish b'shas nefila. I will achin nefila pater. My timer.
Okay.
Now, well, that's Rava saying this, or it's the Gemora in general saying that I'm not sure. But the Gemora itself asks, or Rava himself would explain further. My timer. Avi shur, bor humayim kelim. The shur is a bor, and the mayim is kelim. Lo matzani bor chayav bol ela a kelim. So this statement, if this was a full statement of Rava, this statement is only hanicha l'shmuel. That's only acceptable to Shmuel. I'm called to kala borhu el Rav. This statement, this reason that's been given, that's going to be a difficult reason to put into this statement, the shita, the opinion of Rav. So Ella, what are we going to say? Or if you want to say, you have to say like this. Hachi idmor, say like this. I'm a Rava, so again, it apparently would change that whole statement, the statement of
Changing the
Rava,
statement of
and the
Rava.
whole statement of Rav is being reevaluated, so it can be acceptable both to Rav and to Shmuel.
Okay, so the original statement of Rava, which is that it's a bore, cannot be correct.
Right.
So we have to modify that
Correct.
and say he didn't say that.
Okay, let's try to catch up on some of the Rashi's then.
Yeah, Rashi's very good. Okay, so far so good.
We did the
So far, so good.
we did the Bahaish, the Shas Nefila, the
Right.
Marashma. Now Mayim Kelim, the water is considered Kelim. Kol Chevetzim Kelim, all objects are considered like utensils. Below Chayav a bor, that wouldn't be Chayav in a bor. Allah Mita
Ella, Rita, Ella.
Ela Al Niske Behemoth. It helps in terms of death, rather on the damages of the animal. Damages. The shachets and other objects. That's not hesitant. It's hazikan zon. Hezek. That's damages. It's like it's death. Oh, the idea is like, the idea is it's that. That's the phrase. Like you consider when you destroy an object, that's like considering killing the object. It's like it's death. It's the death of the object.
Correct.
When you destroy an object.
Correct.
So it's damage to an object is like killing it.
Correct.
My ikademen. What is it saying? This is how would Rav say it about the fact that it's not really a bor to him. Ha leis lei. It isn't to him Torah sport. It's not considered the rules of bor. Umimanahu. It's just his money. It's a monetary object. Umishoro, and from his ox, Lamanda we learn the low pata ba be kelim. That doesn't pata kelim because it's not considered a bor. We pata the kelim.
Hello. See the Mai to the Memor. I lace lay Torah Shur. This is not the damaging category of war. And it happens to be his possession. When we shore of Molamda, we learn this out from Shur. No patur became, and there you have no patur for kelim in that case.
Which is wrong. We're talking about.
Right.
But then it says migufo, and this is part of the answer. Migufo shahaya lo luchlach betik, that it got damaged with the. I think it was like a plaster, whatever kind of limestone lime, whatever it is on the animal, that it got dirty with the object of the body of the animal.
Tidus usually it could be the mud, the plaster, could be even the excrement is sometimes referred to as tid. Right? The mess,
So basically that's if it got bodied by the, so to speak, the mud on the animal.
Right.
Not the smell. El merecho, no, rather from its smell. Lav gufa the sarchon. It's not his body that causes the smell. The nevelim milk is considered an nevelim.
But why did Rashi have to introduce that?
A nevelim.
Why don't you put that in there? You didn't say anything about that the shore died, did it? When the Vela Guramu.
The Vela is Atiro, it comes to be. When the Vela Garma, and then the Vela is an indirect cause. Because the Vela causes the smell, Shivo that comes. It's a two-step procedure. We had this rotting animal that caused the smell, and that smell is the thing that fouled the water.
So Rashi's understanding that the animal died?
God here, the note says Rava, it says that it was sullied with mud and dirtied by waters falling, dirtied the waters by falling in, that's Rashi. Alternatively, this is Rava, its stomach burst open from the force of impact and its entrails leaked into the water. Then the stench is not considered part of the carcass itself, but rather is caused to come into being through the decaying carcass. Thus the carcass merely causes the stench to damage the waters. And that's from Rashi, and it also says, see Ra'a cited by the Mikhail Nafshi.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Okay, one moment here.
So what is our question? What is our problem here?
Our question is, why does Rabbah say bor? And then we modify it to say he didn't say bor because he couldn't have.
That was according to Rabbah, right? Couldn't say that, so we have to modify it. So I said it was Bereah. And so Rashi's explaining that it was turned into a Nevela.
The Vela is what? A dead animal?
Carcass, a carcass.
Carcass.
No, it's a carcass. Yeah, well, it's funny.
I was just thinking about the teacher called my students, you would die at me.
Sometimes the class would be turned into a base of quarters.
What turns into a cemetery?
Classroom.
A classroom.
No, if the teacher's calling the students the Vedas, the classroom will turn into a cemetery.
Okay, if you say so.
No, sometimes. Hopefully not. Okay, so let's try and reevaluate in the light of Rashi what's going on here. Okay? Rashi's saying that the Reach is because it turned into a nevela. The sirchon, the nevela, memela ka'asu. That the rotting of the carcass, right, is something which happens automatically. Rashi says lav. Rashi says Reichai, smell. Lav gufehu. That's not it itself. That's not it itself.
It makes it become Brahma.
Right, the Brahma. And how he explains why? Because sirchon, the rotting of the carcass is an automatic thing. When the Veda Guramahu, Shubameras Sifon Lavor. And in the Veda, the carcass is causing the Veda Guramahu, and the Veda is a secondary damage.
Right.
And that fact that it's rotting is causing the silicon to come. Rashi seems like he's repeating himself, no? He doesn't seem repetitious, that Rashi?
Yes, definitely.
Do you think it's repetitious, that Rashi?
Sometimes it's just because he said twice it's in there.
Yeah. He mentions the word groma twice, and the mela is also like a groma. Yeah, okay, Rashi's trying to get at something here. So according to Rashi, you have two things. If it's Megufoi, that's Ruchoch Petit. So the water became polluted because of the dirt that was on the animal's body. Right? If it was not Megufoi, rather it was a Mereka, right? Rashi says that's because the Neveil is rotting, and that's something which happens automatically, and that's a groma.
So we switched it from
But
water
you see,
from...
the smell didn't come from the animal until it became the veil,
Right?
as opposed to the mud, which was definitely on the animal.
That's true.
Right, if the animal had a bad smell and it fell in, then it'd be a different case.
Right.
It's gotta be that
Well,
its bad smell came automatically.
yeah, like as Roy pointed out from his footnote there, according to the Ravid, that the smell came from the burst intestines. And with the burst intestines, right, so that created a whether a bad
Right.
smell or a pollution of the waters actually.
What would have happened if the ox relieved himself in the water but didn't actually choke him?
So that might be considered what we call tsroers. That would be something like the
First is the chicken back, so this is
yeah,
it's a Rama thing also.
also possible. I mean, why couldn't the Gemora explain it that way? Why is Rashi? And also, I mean, up until Rashi, I was kind of imagining the case that the shur was still alive, flopping around there in the swimming pool. No?
Yes, that's what I do too.
Because
No reason why it not shouldn't be.
Because according to what the first part of the Gemora, that he wasn't mafkrid. I mean, okay, a nevela has a certain value, right? But to get a nevela, to get a dead cow out of a swimming pool is going to be one big job.
Especially after it's rotted.
Yeah.
It's been there for a while. So you can't sell the meat anymore. So it's really not valuable at that point.
It actually destroyed the system. It's a system. We've actually destroyed it until it gets flushed out. So how would you kosher the system after that? You'd have to kosher the system.
Well, it depends if you have a filter system that's going to be.
No, but this is in those days.
In those days, yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to be a big job. You have to get that.
You have to remove
body.
the water.
You have to remove the body of the animal out of the water first, and then you have to. Then it depends. If it's a cistern is usually a stagnant body of water. Usually,
Right.
and it's not considered a mayon. The mayon's is a living source of water. So we're not going to have fresh water entering there until you replace the water.
Stop the inflow.
Right.
So we're
Pump
not.
out the water. If necessary, clean the basin,
Sure.
and then let the new water come in.
Right.
That's a big deal.
So the definition of a cistern, tell you the English definition. My impression of a cistern is that it's like usually like a closed water storage area, which
Right.
is probably very difficult for a shore to fall into such a thing like that. Right?
No, you can form it.
No, I've seen cisterns when you go
Those
to
been in archaeological
ruins.
sites, sure, they're all open.
What?
When you go
The
to ruins,
you go to the archaeological sites, there's
They're
systems.
open bores? Oh, I mean,
Well,
they're
yeah,
bores.
they're
What
open
are they?
pits. They're
How do
open,
the water- how do you- the water
open
gets
big
into it?
things like a swimming pool.
No, they can channel the water, that's no problem. You
No,
can
but
channel the water.
There's an opening to it, there's an opening somewhere to it. Because that's,
They've got one in Masada.
more than one.
In Masada, you see a cistern that they have. It's pretty much open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those archaeological sites and water systems, the system of the water is amazing how they do it.
Yeah.
The technology
Yeah.
they did it with. Portugal has a very nice one. Megiddo.
Yeah?
Megiddo, everybody's Megiddo.
I camped out
from
there.
Shul on. There's like 25 civilizations. Because everyone just because it was the center of the Megiddo, the top of the hill, connected
You
between
look at the
Gedera on one
plateaus.
side and
Yeah.
Haifa down to Sisera on the other side.
Right.
Megiddo is the path to go by the hill.
Yeah. My first year at Yeshiva, I camped out overnight over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're not supposed to, but we hiked into there about sunset, and we realized we're not going anywhere for the night, so we just went up to the top there and slept there,